A new size car with a new size price. It's the easiest car in the world to own. The Ford Falcon.
On September 2nd of 1959, the Ford Falcon made its debut, a full month before its rivals, the Chevrolet Corvair and Plymouth Valiant. In this video, we look into the history of the Ford Falcon and discover how it impacted the creation of other well-known models, such as the Ford Mustang. This is the story of the Ford Falcon. The Ford Falcon was touted right out the gate as the new size Ford and promoted for its economy both at the pump and in price. Families who wanted a second car were likely to have bought their first vehicle in the larger is always better American vehicles of the 1950s. The big three American automakers were dead set on preventing consumers from switching to foreign brands like the Volkswagen and Toyota. Executives at Ford were so confident in Falcon's market potential that they predicted it would sell 650,000 vehicles in its first full year. Not quite reaching the target, 456,703 Falcons had been sold by the end of 1960. In that year, Ford's best-selling vehicle was the Ford Falcon. The 1960 Falcon was powered by a small, lightweight 95 horsepower, 144 cubic inch displacement. It was the mileage maker's straight six with a single-barrel carburetor. A 3-speed manual column shift was standard, and the 2-speed Ford-O-Matic automatic was optional, and it had room for 6 passengers. Body styles included 2- and 4-door sedans, 2- or 4-door station wagons, and the Ranchero car-based pickup, transferred onto the Falcon platform for 1960 from the Fairlane. Robert McNamara, a Ford executive who became Ford's president briefly before being offered the job of U.S. Defense Secretary, is recorded by many as the father of the Falcon.
You get a choice of engines?
That's right.
You have to admire the generosity.
The Ford Falcon brochures featured Charlie Brown and Lucy from the Peanuts comic strip, who remained until 1965. The 1961 model year introduced an optional 170 cubic inch displacement, or 2.8 liter if you're outside the U.S. It was a 6 which upped the horsepower from 90 to 101 horsepower. 2 new models were introduced for 1961, a bucket seat and console sedan model with a higher trim level called the Futura. Ford boasted a good fuel economy achieved by the 6-cylinder Ford Falcon models in advertising. The fuel economy was good. The 1962 model year had a Squire model of the 4-door station wagon with faux wood trim on the sides. The bucket seat Futura model was offered with a slightly upgraded interior, factory-installed safety belts, different side trim, and different emblems. Halfway through the model year, Ford changed the roofline at the back window to more of a Thunderbird design and offered a 4-speed transmission for the first time. In 1962, Ford introduced the Ford Falcon Club Wagon and Deluxe Club Wagon, an 8-passenger Ford Econoline cab-over-engine van.
Ford, America's liveliest, most carefree cars. 44 wonderful new 1963 models at your Ford dealers now.
In 1963, even more models were available. Now a 4-door Futura and a Deluxe wagon were available. Futura convertibles and Futura sports convertible models were also included in the 1963 range. Halfway through the model year, February of 1963, the Fairlane's 164 horsepower Challenger 260 cubic inch was offered for the first time. And only a small number of these cars were made. 10,479 Sprint 2-door hardtops with bucket seats and 4,602 Sprint convertibles with bucket seats. The 1964.5 Mustang that Ford made a year later were based on these first-generation Ford Sprint cars. Many, if not most, of the interior, chassis, suspension, and drivetrain parts came from the 1963.5 Ford Falcon Sprint.
Excitement. Pure excitement. All yours in a new 64 Falcon V8.
The second generation 1964 Ford Falcon, launched in 1963, featured revised, more squared-off styling. Later in the 1964 model year, Ford's new offering for that market was launched. The Ford Mustang, based heavily on Falcon's unified frame design.
The new 64 Falcon. Ain't that something? But you gotta drive it to know how much it's really changed.
TV commercials now use the character Hazel as well as the Peanuts cartoon characters. Because the Mustang had the same options that the Sprint had for only a small amount more, the Sprint never caught on. Even with the addition of the 289 V8 in late 1964, the Sprint was overshadowed by the Mustang and was discontinued after 1965. The Mustang dealt Falcon sales in North America a blow from which they would never recover.
Falcon has a low, lean, long-hooded look. More muscle in the suspension. This has got to be the smoothest riding compact ever.
In 1965, Ford launched the third generation Falcon, based on a shortened Fairlane platform with revised styling. It also featured a premium all-vinyl interior. Large sports coupe script on the C-pillar was borrowed from the 1964 through 65 Fairlane Sports Coupe. The 1966 Ford Falcon was used in the Trans Am series. The 1967 models were mostly the same as the 1966 models, but more federally mandated safety equipment was added, including a dual-circuit braking system, energy-absorbing steering wheel, a large padded center hub, four-way flashers, soft interior panels, and mountings for the front shoulder belts. A reminder light was added for the seat belts.
And only one compact, Falcon 68, is designed to match it. Better looking than other compacts, bigger and stronger than economy imports.
1968 was the first model year for the square taillights. 1968 and 1969 Falcons got new side marker lights or reflectors, front outboard shoulder belts, and headrests for cars built after January 1st of 1969. Continuing decline in sales and the inability of the car to meet the forthcoming safety standards, not to mention that the Ford Mustang had basically destroyed the car it came from, the result was a short run of the 1970 Ford Falcon models. In a strange twist, the 1970 Ford Falcon was dropped after a few months of production, and the nameplate switched to the intermediate Torino platform and designated a 1970.5. The final model year for the Ford Falcon in North America was 1970. Hey, that wraps it up on the Ford Falcon. You know, the Mustang came from the Ford Falcon, and then the Mustang destroys the Ford Falcon. What was Ford thinking? So what did you think about the Ford Falcon? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Leave your comments below. We want to know if you had one, if you liked it or not. Leave us comments. And as always, thank you so much for subscribing to the Boca Brothers YouTube channel. We are trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of January of 2023, here in the next month, right? So help us out. It's free. Just click that subscribe button. It helps the algorithm and it helps us produce more videos. So thank you to all of our subscribers. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for future notifications.